Okay, let's get started. You're all here for iPhone application development, I hope. We're going to start the class normally. It's at 7:11. We're going to start the class at 7 o'clock. Tonight's a pretty easy class, though, because it's just orientation to the class and stuff like that. Plus, I see some of you guys with Windows machines. That's going to have to stop. No Windows allowed in this room, so. Oh, okay, you can bring in your Windows machines if you want. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is go over the syllabus, talk a little bit about iPhone, what you need to do for the course, have everything, give you all the instructions so you can have everything set up for Wednesday when we come in. Kind of like the previous class if you were in that. We'll just start in with the first lecture. I also have a couple of tutorials set up, but it doesn't make any sense if half of you don't have anything to play with or don't have any computers with you. It's really hard to. Do you have one with you? It's the wrong kind. Is that an Apple? Not an Apple. It's a Dell? Good for you.
We can install the Apple OS.
No. Actually, you can. You can run Parallels on a Windows. There is a virtual box. Well, there's VirtualBox, but there's Parallels that runs better.
The VM plugin?
Or VMware to load it on top of Windows. Has anyone done this? Load it on top of Windows, and then you install OS X inside of the VMware.
I haven't done the OS X. Is OS X downloadable? Or is it even
No,
legal?
it's not free either.
So.
It's like $200, I think, or $150 for the option. You have to buy it.
Yeah.
It's an operating system. I mean, you're supposed to buy Windows too. But it comes free on all these computers, usually on the clones. However, a student in my previous class, the Objective-C class, bought a computer on Craigslist for $450. I was really impressed with it, actually. So you can get a cheap MacBook because there's newer MacBooks coming out, actually, in September-ish, August-ish. There's a whole so a lot of people are selling them right now. A lot of people who are getting rid of, preparing to upgrade. There's a lot of stores, Micro Center being one of them, that's getting rid of all of their inventory because they're making room for the new stuff that's coming in. So this is actually a good opportunity to invest in a new notebook. Or you get a refurbished one, or, there's tons of different options. A brand new book will cost you almost $1,000. A used one, you're looking between 4 or 5 to 6, 7-ish or so. Depends on what you get. If it's just for this class, I'd go on Amazon or eBay or something and get like a used one. Or if you want to battle with the library, we have MacBooks in the library that you can use. I don't know what the check-in, check-out policy is about, and you might have to do it on campus. But you're going to need a Mac system for this class. There's absolutely no way of taking it without access to a MacBook. So that's number one. What do you need it for? Because we're going to do iPhone application development. What is this about? This course, in fact, I see some new people, so I'll bring up the website just in case. But I do see some new faces. So this is the website. Oops, that's not the website. This is the website where you're going to see all of the materials for this course. bhacker.com is the address. www.bhacker.com. You don't have to put the ITU in, that just forwards to this one. If you go into summer 2011, you go into iPhone application development, you're going to see the syllabus, which is what I'm going to go over today, all the assignments for the course. I put in a couple of tutorials in here under the video class introduction. Well, I don't know. This is from the last time I taught it, which was back in January. And this was on a different iOS version. This was on a 4.2, even might have been on 3 point something. I recently upgraded to the 5.1, I believe, 5.0 or 5.1, and the interface is completely changed. So, long story short, the videos may or may not be of use to you, depending upon what iOS version you're going to use. And I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. That's going to be dependent upon which MacBook you have, actually. So I'm going to try and teach the course in the most generic fashion possible, taking advantage of all features, not necessarily just 5.1. So in here you'll see the assignments. There's 5 assignments for the course. I'll go over that in a few minutes. You're going to see the lectures. There's bunch of PowerPoints on here. I'm actually adding different stuff in here too. I'm revamping this course because of the new changes in the interface in Xcode, which has been totally modified. So it doesn't, some of the stuff needs to be changed and upgraded to show you storyboards and, all of the new stuff versus all of the old stuff. If you're not familiar with any of this stuff, don't worry about it. I'll tell you what's in this version, what's in that version, and when you open up your version of Xcode, you'll see something completely different, probably. Who knows? I also have some example projects in here, and I have 2 of them that we're going to go over probably Wednesday, if maybe today. Who knows? It depends on how much I talk. These are going to be Word files, and I'm going to populate this as we go through. The example projects will be written for the current version of the API. And so these are, a lot of the other examples and source code examples are written for previous versions of the OS. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about providing an introduction to iPhone application development, including an introduction to Objective-C. This is not the full Objective-C course. I teach that class right before this one, actually. iPhone technologies, multi-touch interfaces, accelerators, GPS. Same thing we did for the Android class, but we're doing it for iPhone. So if you weren't in the Android class, start with ground zero today, hello world, and move up from hello world into bigger and better things, and bigger and bigger programs. We are limited, however, in this class because of Objective-C. If you have a C++ background, or if you have a C background, you're in excellent shape. Even if you have a Java background, you're still okay. But you're definitely not going to take advantage of the full capabilities until you actually learn Objective-C. So that's why this class is being taught with the Objective-C class simultaneously, to give students everything. This class, although I'm going to show you a little bit about Objective-C, is not a C class. Instead, we're going to cut and paste code, and we're going to assume you already know what this code is talking about. And I'll go through some of the code. I'm not going to spend too much time on the programming component of Objective-C. Otherwise, I'd waste the entire time period on that. I could spend the entire class, and then this would just be a repeat of the previous class, so which we don't want. So what are we going to look at in this class? Knowing the basic concepts, techniques for developing applications for the iPhone, iPad, you're in luck. One project on the current version does them all. So we just say, what do you want to compile for? iPhone, iPad, everything? Okay. You can't really do that for Android. Android, you have to pick which version, and then if it's something special, you got to pick that hardware version. Or Samsung, this, and there's special APIs for different hardware. iPhone is more generic because it's fixed hardware. One manufacturer of the hardware, so they can pretty much, customize the interface to work, which is nice. So it's a little easier than that. We don't have to spend on half the beginning of the course downloading APIs or installing IDEs or anything like that. It's all given to us. So we're going to be able to use the SDK. Part of the course we'll be looking at the SDK and development tools that are available to you, knowing the basic concepts of the iPhone features, the capabilities, and being able to understand Objective-C programming as it's related to application development for the iPhone platform. Not a full programming course. How to acquire additional resources for different features and different things, and being familiar with how to publish iPhone applications in iTunes Store. You don't have to do that for this course. I am going to hopefully spend at least a lecture at the end, or half a lecture at the end, to go through that stuff, and how to create various different types of applications using phone services and features. So, required equipment, any iPhone version is suggested, but not required. Actually, believe it or not, the emulators are nice. Not like Android. The emulators are fantastic. So in Android, you got really bad emulators that run really slowly, but everything's written in Java, and the programming is extremely easy and highly functional. In iPhone, you have fast-running emulators with a lot of built-in features and functionalities and automation, but the programming is a nightmare. And the functionality is harder to achieve because you gotta basically speak another language, Objective-C. And if you're not an Objective-C programmer, there's a transitional period where you'll have to get used to the syntax. It's the same concepts, similar concepts of C++, implemented differently. Both C++ and Objective-C come from C. You can actually use C++, which is your advantage. If you are a C++ programmer, you can write iPhone apps in C++. You're going to get to a certain point where you're going to have to switch over to Objective-C to get certain functionality to work, however. So the other thing, too, is in the Android you had many different options. It was kind of flexible. You can pretty much do whatever you want to do. iPhone, you got to follow a certain process. So it's a little more stringent in terms of the development environment. You have to do things a certain way, pick things, otherwise the compiler is going to complain. And you have to use Xcode. Well, you don't have to use Xcode. You can use a command line prompt if you want to compile your programs with. But Xcode is the easiest way of doing it. And in the iOS 5 and above, we have this thing called storyboards, which is really nice. And we have more automation in terms of memory management, stuff like that. So we're looking at significant differences with the changes of the iOS as well. And you're not going to know the differences if you're brand new to this. But if you can get the latest and greatest, that's your best option. And I'll talk about that in a few minutes, the software that's required. There's no textbook, but links to iPhone reading material and books will be mentioned. There is a Deedle and Deedle book that I have that I forgot to bring with me. It's Building Applications by Example, just like the Android book that we were using, actually, but it's iPhone. Problem with the iPhone is it changes faster than Android. And it's hard to keep up with it. Once you find a good book, it's outdated. And then the manufacturers decided, oh, I'm just going to stop with this book. I don't want to support every single upgrade. I just took a look, actually, and it was like, when did I do the iPhone workshop? It was like June, I think. June. It was Father's Day weekend, right? And I downloaded and installed fresh. So I made sure I had everything up to date. I just looked at the Xcode version, and now I'm out of date. This is July. Only a month, and now there's a new iOS version and there's a new Xcode release. And then if we wait another 2 months, we're going to have iOS 6 instead of the 5s. So we're going to have even another new version of the iOS that's only going to work on Lion and above. Actually, probably Mountain Lion and above. So, which means your hardware is not going to support it unless you keep buying new MacBooks. So, long story short, it's a tough environment. You have to have a lot of money for MacBooks. Software is free, but the hardware is a little bit more expensive. So you can't just run it on anything. What do you need for this class in terms of software? Any version of the iOS. So I'm looking at my outdated version, and I have I have Lion. I recently updated to Lion from Snow Leopard so that I could get 4.3. What you're looking at, and you're going to see the version that you have right underneath. Mine says 4.3. There's 3.2. There's actually 4.33 out right now. I'm not going to bother upgrading because eventually I'm probably going to upgrade to Mountain Lion, and then when I do that, I'm going to upgrade to the 6.0 iOS. The iOS is the operating system that's running on the devices, on the iPad and the iPhone. And every time you go into iTunes, iTunes will actually update your iOS for your iPhone if you have one. On your computer, you don't have to do it. It doesn't happen automatically. You actually have to buy and upgrade for $15, I think. If you have Snow Leopard, you're in luck. You can get Lion still from the Apple Store for like $15 to upgrade it. If you want to make sure you have enough memory on your computer, like at least 4 gigs. 2 gigs is pushing it. 4 is nice. Lion runs pretty nicely on 4 if you're going to upgrade it. But you might as well just wait, or might as well just upgrade to Mountain Lion or whatever the current one is, because then you're only going to be supported into the future, hopefully. But some of the operating systems for Apple don't allow you to jump. You have to go from one to the next to the next to the next, which is really a hassle. And it's going to take you all day to upgrade that operating system, probably. Or you can just maybe drop your MacBook off at the Mac store. Have them do it for you. But they're going to charge you something for it, probably. I don't know. You can easily do it yourself. And what are we talking about? I just actually went into the Apple store right before the class started. Let's see if I can see my link is still here. Because I'm on a Lion system, I got the options for Lion. I don't believe you're going to see any of the previous stuff. So the Xcode version 4.3 for Lion, that was out on March 22nd, 2012. March 22nd. Yeah, this is the big version. So I have 4.3.2. There's 4.3.3 out. There's 4.3. I don't know where I got that from either. Probably from a previous page. Long story short, the version of Xcode that you're going to get is closely tied with the version of the OS X that you have. 4.3 is not supported on anything prior to Lion. They were for a while giving out some of the Snow Leopard people got 4.3 until they discontinued it. And I believe it's because they're coming out with another one that's going to be released pretty soon. They don't support the older operating systems for too long. If you have an old MacBook or you go on eBay or you go on Amazon, ask the people what's on it. And if they can just leave it alone and just send it to you, wipe off their personal data, just give you, you're in the best of all worlds. Because you'll have an older operating system, maybe Leopard, Snow Leopard, probably. And you'll have the older 3-point-something version, 3.2 version or so of Xcode, and you're in great shape. You can still use it. You can still compile, actually, for it. And if you're in the newer version, you can go and install the backward, which I have done, the backward iOS, so I can support 3.2 and above, whatever. So, long story short, you can't upgrade some of the olders, and you can't download the new tools, or the old tools for the olders. But you can still buy an older with the tools already installed on it. A lot of people buy systems, they install stuff on it, they don't use it. That's what you're looking for. Somebody who wipes it out completely, you're not going to get Xcode for Leopard. It's not going to be downloadable. And you can't go and search the internet for it. You have to get it from the Apple Store. It's free. Xcode is free. You don't have to pay $99 a year. If I backtrack out of here, I didn't save the link, so I have to backtrack out. No, it's not going to dance. It expired. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Well, there, let's just sign in. Actually, hold on. Yep, there we go. Got back in. Oh, I'm back into the same page. Well, maybe I'll use the menu options here. Hi, customer hacker. Well, what I wanted to do is get back. So do a Google search on developer or go to developer.apple.com. You'll have to have a, you don't actually have to have a Mac at mac.com account. You will have to provide them with an email address, however, and you'll have to sign up for an account. You do not have to sign up for the developer account. Basically, you just make sure you have a developer login, and which is free. Then you have to download Xcode, which is, in this particular screen, Crash Wrangler. This particular one, it says it's only 1.84 gigabytes, which is kind of interesting. Maybe it knows this is an upgrade or something, because when you originally download it, it's like 3 or 4 gigabytes of data that you're downloading. And it requires a pretty substantial chunk of hard disk space as well. So you have to have like 20 or 30 gigabytes available on your drive, hard disk space. You're going to need like maybe 4 gigabytes of RAM, 2's pushing it. You're going to get a slow system with that. So the requirements are kind of stringent in terms of what it is you're going to need. You don't have to pay for anything. It's all free. Well, after you buy the MacBook. Xcode is free. You can't find it anywhere outside of the Apple Store. You don't have to sign up for the license. If you want to take this to the extreme, and I don't recommend doing it, you can sign up for a $99 a year developer's license. People do that because in order to get the app to actually work on a real phone, you need either a student or a developer license. If you have a student, it will work on one phone. If you have a developer, it will work on all phones, and you can put it in the App Store. So if you have a student, you can't get the student unless you're a university. So I can get a student, and I might actually look into this because we don't actually have one here. But I could get a ITU student test developer's license. I probably can get it through this other program that I'm in, actually. Long story short, you'll be able to, with the key, the certificate that I can give to you in your Xcode version, you can take it and put it on your phone, one phone that's attached, that you can basically, and there's a certain way that you get it on the phone, right through Xcode, actually. You can't put it in the Apple Store. Unlike the Android development, where you can just take the APK file and copy it into any device that you hook up to the computer, you can't do that with this. First of all, it's not one single file. Second of all, it doesn't work the same way. There's an entire directory and there's an entire process, and it's all signature related. And it's all license related. So you don't get anything with the free license except for Xcode. You sign up for student licenses, then you get limited. Or you pay $100 a year and you get full developer's license. Full developer's license gives you free upgrades. And it also gives you access to the older downloads. So a lot of people do is, but they don't go anything, there's nothing past 3 point something or other. You can't go way back. But if you have a full developer license, you can get access to older iOSs and older Xcode versions. But I don't think it's really worth the $100 to gamble with it. I don't know. Long story short, if you don't have a MacBook, buy one. Get one with Xcode already on it. Get one from someone who, oh, I wanted to do this, I got it all loaded up, but I never did anything with it, you know? And there's a lot of them out there. Actually, there's a lot of people that buy the MacBooks that has everything on it. In the old days, they used to put Xcode on them automatically. Now they don't do it because it takes up too much memory. But or buy a new one, but unless you're rich, I don't know. So what you're looking at is the software. This is all you need for the course. It's the only thing. You do not need an iPhone. You don't need an iPad either. But a lot of people have them. Don't think that you're going to be able to put, unless you get a student license, don't think you're going to be able to put anything on it. But the emulators are really nice, and we'll see that today. So, unless they fixed it, which, you know, could work on one device now. Who knows? They keep changing everything. Oops, this is the wrong lecture. I was talking about the syllabus for this class. So I can find the syllabus. Here it is in the back. Alright, so what else do we got? No required textbook, but you do have a lot of required software, and you have a lot of required hardware. The grading, 25% of the class will be on a final exam that will be in class. We also have a CSLO essay that will be 25%. The CSLO essay will not be programming. It will be answering questions that are be concept-based on the programming part. The final exam will not require programming either. It will be multiple choice. So the final exam and the CSLO are pretty easy, if you think about it. But 50% of the class is on 5 programming assignments. So 5 programming assignments were 10 points each. So the majority of the class is the programming part of it. So that's why you need to have a decent system, at least, or have access to the library or something. If you use the library system, I believe they have Leopard on them. And then they have a really, really, really old version of Xcode on them. They might have upgraded them recently, I don't know. But they're not the best systems, but they work when you don't have anything else. And don't ask me, you can't do this on a Windows system. It doesn't work. Usually I have 1 or 2 students that will say, can I get this to work on a Windows system? Unless you create a Hackintosh out of it, or you install VMware on it, it's not going to work. Don't bother spending, because you spend an entire term trying to get it to work on Windows. It's not going to work. So that's your major disappointment for this evening. You have to upgrade your computer. Or have a friend or someone who you can borrow their computer. You need a MacBook. If you bring your MacBook computer, which, you know, runs a long time on a battery, it's a really nice system. Nice investment, actually. To class starting Wednesday. I might actually start it today, but I'm noticing most of the class isn't really equipped for it yet. I have a lot of examples, including, in fact, I'll run through the first one today, but I'll give you a tour of Xcode, actually. But most of the stuff that we're going to be doing, we'll be going through the assignments, actually, previewing what you'll have to do for the assignments, as well as going through sample projects and stuff. And so if you bring your computer with you, you might be able to, you know, get a head start on the programming assignments and stuff like that. I'll probably do most of them for you, or show you enough examples. So a lot of it's just figuring out which program to model it after, which example is going to give you the best kind of interface for it. So you're not going to have to spend too much time listening to Objective-C programming, although I do have to go through a lot of stuff in order to explain what it is we're doing. So outside of the explanation, you're not going to have to write any truly heavy Objective-C applications. So most of the stuff we'll be doing, we'll be working with built-in libraries and built-in tools and interfaces and cute little neat little gadgets, you know. The applications aren't going to be heavy-duty programming assignments. If you're taking the Objective-C course, you can actually turn them into that if you want to. And I'll go through some of the examples of the homework assignments so you can see what you're getting into. Not too bad, actually. Academic dishonesty, you have to do your own programs. There's a lot of internet examples out there. The good thing about the iPhone stuff is it's all signature marked. I can tell, just like the Android stuff actually. I can tell where it came from, where it originated from. Yeah. So it's not too hard to find the plagiarism actually. Which was really funny was like after I said that at the end of the last class, a lot of people was like, I did this on my friend's computer. I did this, and I'm like, why are you? Okay, so you're thinking okay, so like if 50 out of 60 students all had it on the same computer, I'm thinking there's an issue with that. So 1 or 2, okay, but 60 of them, no, not possible. So yeah, these are marked even clearer than the Android stuff. This is way obvious. So, and you won't get any points for it. You'll get 0 points for it. I can also tell, you know, when you've downloaded stuff from the internet, because most of the examples out there are repeated over and over again. Everyone's using the same examples. So if you give me a calculator, I probably have seen it before, you know, if it's off of the internet. So, all right, grading formulas. So no A pluses. Obviously, we have A's and A minuses and B pluses and C's. Everybody wants to be in the B or above category, I assume. It's a graduate level course. So. EMS, we're still using the EMS. You still have to put all your assignments there. Although you can get the assignments off of the bhacker.com website. You still have to upload them into the EMS. Still got that requirement. And now that I'm in the iPhone class, I'm going to bring up a couple of these here. Let me just save them. Actually, I'm just going to save some assignments here. You'll see the nature of the assignment, because usually people are fearful on the first day of class. They're like, what in the world have I gotten myself into? Let me shut this window, actually. You know what? So I don't have to repeat it. I'm going to put them in here, too. So what have you gotten yourself into? Let's take a look. Because this is 50% of the course here. Assignment number 1. Not too bad. It's looking pretty blank right now. That's pretty easy to do, isn't it? Looks really easy. The wheel going around and around. It's thinking. Probably can't convert the images is what I'm thinking. I may not be able to show you the assignments tonight. Oh, here we go. We're 97, modified. Okay, but what... doesn't like the format, obviously. Okay, let me try something else. Unless it's still trying to load it. Nope. Let's try the second one. Let's see what happens. All right, well, let's go back to the first one then. I'll open it up in a text editor here. So project number 1. I'm not going to go through all the details yet, but it kind of gives you an idea. Everyone's got a simple calculator program. This is nice because it's sort of like Hello World. So it's assignment number 1. And you're creating a simple calculator. You're going to create the simple calculator program for an iPhone. Okay, so when it says iPhone, you can do it for an iPad as well because it's all the same project type, iPhone, iPad. You're going to design the overall look and feel that's completely up to you. So basically, there's a lot of freedom in the assignment. So it's basically going to have you, you know, pick out what kind you want to do: a tip calculator, a mortgage calculator, a car loan calculator. You know, pick out one of these calculators essentially, and then design the user interface for it. So design your own user interface and functionality. So that's pretty easy. So don't recycle it on the internet. Calculator programs, because there's a million of them out there. But you'll be able to see a million examples. Doable. You can possibly do that on your own. Same thing with the tic-tac-toe game, a little bit more complicated because the first one doesn't really require that much. The tic-tac-toe game requires a little bit more application knowledge. So you have to determine the required components, operation for a 2-player mode game of tic-tac-toe. Using a window, you're going to create a suitable display, 3x3 buttons. It'd be kind of interesting if you did the tic-tac-toe game in the Android. It's kind of interesting seeing how it works in the iPhone. But slightly different animal, slightly different interface. A lot of different. Third assignment is going to be, again, hello, a clock application. It's a simple functioning clock in the iPhone. So you click on the first program, it includes a UI label showing a functioning clock, and then the second part, create a stopwatch program. Works with the clock. So it's not specific because, you know, a lot of people say, I don't have that API, I don't have that iOS version, and it doesn't matter. You can do it in anything. You can do it in any version of anything, using any API, any tools, anything that you can get your hands on. Any technique that you want with any user interface. You can use 1 screen, 2 screens, 3 screens, tabs, list boxes, anything you want, essentially. So this one's a clock application part 1, and number 4 is a continuation of the clock application. You're extending the functionality to do an alarm clock, I believe, using the program to create a timer program. So you're going to see some interesting things as we go through the GUI part of the development, and you'll see some of the components that are available for you. So you might have some different ideas. There's like a half a dozen different ways of designing this clock. In fact, you can probably use the clock after the class. Another thing is the 5th assignment. The 5th assignment is really nothing more than exploration of multiple views. I'm actually going to show you multiple views today. Or I might not get there till Wednesday, but the multiple view capabilities is basically having multiple screens and being able to switch. So a tab view is a good one. Anybody attend the workshop that I did? Or did you go to the workshop? No. You did. You were the only one that went to the workshop. You're like the only one in the LS class that went to the workshop too. Remember the tab view application? No? Okay, good. Because we're going to do that one again. That's going to give you, well, we're probably not going to hit it for a couple weeks down the road, but you can do something like that, tab view. So I'm going to do all these assignments for you in class. So I'm not going to give you the source code though, but I'll show you how to do all of those assignments. Those are the 5 assignments. That's 50% of the grade in class. It's really just to get your hands wet. We only have 8 weeks, so you're going to get your hands in. You're going to build some applications. That's the majority of the class, essentially, of those applications. Let me go back to the syllabus, make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Oops, I think I closed the syllabus, actually. My computer seems to be... How come I can't minimize this? There we go. Alright, that window doesn't want to go anywhere for some reason. That's because this one's open. Yeah. Hello. This isn't normally... Oh, I believe that the preview is hosed. Anyway, I'll fix that later. Questions about the syllabus or about the course requirements. Everything will be due at the end of 8 weeks. So just like my other classes, you can space out the work. It is only 8 weeks and it does go by very quickly. We do not have a midterm in this course. We just have a final exam. So you don't have to worry about a midterm or even a take-home. So we have a CSLO, a final exam, and then those 5 assignments. It's fairly simple, fairly straightforward. But 5 assignments figure 8 weeks. It's almost like an assignment a week if you think about the pace. However, some of the assignments, you know, like the the clock application, there's like 3 parts of it. You know, so you can build it together, like, you know, use the same base. It's not like you have to create, I believe it's these 2 here. It's not like you have to create a brand new application. You use the beginning application. You're just adding more features to it, adding more functionality to it. So it's like 4.5 programs really, 4 programs. It's not really like 5. No questions? All right, I'm going to end this video then and start a fresh